for the ride home in ENC.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
This is your 5 o'clock drive with Patrick Johnson.
Holy mackerel!
More news, more interviews, more ECU stories than you can shake a stick at. Hey, stop shaking that stick. This is the Patrick Johnson Show.
Pirates win! Pirates win!
On 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome in Thursday edition Patrick Johnson Show. I should have had you, Pilk, pull up the Surf City webcam or the Surf City bridge cam because it was raining sideways here. It looks ominous out from the working man's beach. Thanks for being with us here today. We've got a full pack to the gills show. So we need to not dilly-dally and get right to the top five. But first, we say hello to Philip the Rep Pilkington, who will bring us the top five. It's just you and me today, Pilk. No interns today.
No interns.
And, Pilk, excuse me. So my source got back to me, one of my sources in Raleigh, about 20 minutes after we left the air yesterday. I was actually walking out towards the beach. And I got the no deal is close on any budget item, including NIL funding. The House and Senate budget negotiators are very, in all caps, limited in their contact. So, again, this comes back in case you haven't followed along. You know, there was the movement via socials and getting our stations involved to reach out to the lawmakers to say, hey, let's get this thing going. Let's get this deal where they will do an equal distribution of gambling tax receipts for not only East Carolina, but Charlotte, App State, equal to that of North Carolina and NC State. So that's where they are. So you could still, as they say, write your congressman. But the issue you have right now with that is, will the message get to them? But hey, you could at least they have not made decisions yet.
True.
But the negotiators aren't doing a lot of negotiating, it does not sound like. All right. We got Brian LeBlanc, as you know, Tom Dondon, the owner of the Canes, buying the owner of the Blazers. So we'll talk to Canes country blogger Brian LeBlanc about that. And then from the Split Duo podcast and the upcoming Raleigh Sports Podcast Festival, which will be taking place a week from Saturday. It'll be on the 23rd. Alex Kirshner will be on to talk some college football with us. But right now, here's the top five.
This may very well be our last mission. Let's make it count.
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
It's impossible.
Now some stories you may have heard.
You ready?
Or catch it for the first time. This is your 5 at 5 with the P-Man.
Welcome into our Thursday edition of 5 at 5. We're going to start with a little Pirate athletics, and we're going to start with Pirate football. Caton Hauser has been named to as one of the 27 ones to watch for the Manning Award, given to the top quarterback. Is the only award that does regular season and postseason play. He is the fourth Pirate ever on the preseason watch list, joining Dominic Davis, Shane Carden, and Holt Naylor's.
Carden going to the Hall of Fame. Holt Naylor's recently retired, and Davis, I believe, is playing in Canada.
I think so.
So you're in pretty good company, or played in Canada, and you're in pretty good company if that is the case. I think Caton Hauser, if healthy, will have a tremendous year. I think he will have a huge year, and I think he will prove to be one of the more dynamic quarterbacks in the American, and perhaps one of the most productive in the G5. The G5. We will see.
I agree with you, Patrick, wholeheartedly. However, I do think he's at a disadvantage for this award. None of the three previous Pirate players had to go against someone with the last name Manning. I suspect some bias in the voting in this award. And, I will say if that person wins it over Caton Hauser, you will see me marching with my signs and protesting when they do not.
Well, what if they're undefeated and have a great year? What if they go to the playoff and are one of the top two or three seeds?
Maybe that's. But if they go 9-3, and Caton takes us 11-1, and Caton doesn't get it, and the guy who the award's not even named after, but his family members,
then, I get it.
Then I'm going to be out there with my sign, using my First Amendment rights to protest.
All right, that was number two.
Number two, ECU soccer has opened the season, unfortunately, very late. I went over there to watch the game, And
Yeah.
the weather was so darn bad that I had to get back over here for my responsibilities, and it exceeded my lunch break hour, so I did not get to see any of it. They are currently down 2-0 to Liberty with about 20 minutes to play.
Liberty is good, and a lot of great reaction to having Maeve English on yesterday. But obviously, you've got a lot lost from that team last year, including your coach, including a great goalkeeper in Maeve English. So they will figure it out. I feel like they will, but don't look at this and think Liberty. Liberty is a top 25 caliber program, not a team, a program, and they actually are returning a lot from their team.
They're returning everybody, and they actually were ranked at one time last year. I was talking to Cole Barnhill this morning, and he was just kind of going through the stats. That team, I think they were like 13-2 last year. At one time ranked. I mean, this is a really good program. So it's a good measuring tool for the Pirates. So I've kind of been able to watch it sporadically, but not as in depth as I've wanted to due to some other responsibilities that Patrick and I have had today.
So tough opener, and but that's the way you want to start your season is with the tough opener, and a lot to be learned from that. Number three. So this will be our halftime. We did ECU. We've got some naming rights on 4 and 5. This is the coach at Northern Illinois talking. I love
about
this
NIL and just how he would not trade his college experience for a dime.
To be honest with you, I love the challenge. You know, it don't bother me one bit because you know what? In life, you're going to make decisions, right? Sometimes it's going to work in your favor and sometimes it's not. I told our team the other day, you know, we lost all these guys. Let's see who plays. So it's all good when people put it on Twitter, hey, all glory to God, I'm going in the transfer portal. Let's see if they play. How many of those guys going to play or travel or get snaps? You know, I was going to tweet something the other day, a picture of me, and say, you know what? I enjoyed my college experience. I didn't get one dime, but the lessons I learned was more valuable than any money you can ever pay me. And I appreciate that because that is long term. People are losing the fact that this is short term. I coached in the National Football League for 5 years. 5 years, right? Don't lose focus of what the long term. Get your degree, learn valuable lessons that's going to help you in the long term of your life. That's the whole purpose. This is a transition from being a kid to a grown-up. And I hope people don't lose focus of that. Everybody's talking about everything else besides what is the most important thing for going to college. Because if you're going to college to go get a couple dollars, you might as well go get a job. This is too hard to go get a couple dollars. Learn the lessons that you need to learn to be successful in life for the next 40 to 50 years of your life. I would do it again for free, because of the things I learned. That's why I'm standing here today, because of what I learned in college, not because of how much somebody gave me. That's what I would tell people. And parents, they need to learn that lesson too. Stop trying to live through your kids. Go to teach your kids what are the things they need to learn to be successful. That's what I'm telling my kids. I don't care about no NIL, no revenue share. I can care less. You need to learn things in college to get you prepared for life, to be a father, a husband, to work, everything else. Those are the most important things. That's what people are missing, in my opinion. Just my opinion.
That's Thomas Hammock. Don't go on that sermon and then just say, in my opinion. I don't like it when they do that.
I know.
I don't like it when they do that. I mean, look, I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here because I do agree with a lot of what he said. But he talked about the limited window. It is such a limited window. And there's a really good friend of ours, really, really close friend of mine. You know him pretty well, too, and have gotten to know him, who has had some medical issues connected to concussions. I think a lot of it obviously happened when he played. And I think a lot of it is been triggered by some things that have happened here in the last year or so. So, you know, it's, in other words, it was there and it's sort of exacerbated. In other words, this is a sport to a degree unlike basketball and baseball and all these. Your time is finite, not because it's hard to make the pros, because it is. Your time is finite because just like that, more than any other sport, you could suffer an injury that not only ends your career in football, but may even cause you to have a drastic a drastically different lifestyle. So I don't fault trying to make money. I understand exactly what he's saying. A lot of coaches were retweeting this and commenting on this, and I totally get it. But you have a finite time in football. Even if you go pro, your earning years, they're not long. And it can end in look, anything could happen in the blink of an eye. Anything. But in football, because of the nature of the sport, that's why you have again, that's the devil's advocate argument.
Yeah.
I love that he said, thoughts and prayers or whatever it is, glory to God. And I'm going to go ride the bench on third on the depth chart at a P4.
Yeah, the thing is, man, I get what you're saying with the money thing, but, man, there was something about just being a part of the same team for 4 years that was special. Yeah, obviously I didn't play in college, but, really it was 6 years because our middle school fell directly into our high school. And maybe they've already experienced that in high school, but there's something about being in the game. Like, I don't know, man. It's just this is gone. And
as the great Wes Durham said, this is not for the Letterman jacket and the homecoming dance anymore.
No,
we're well beyond that. We are well beyond that.
Yeah.
But I understand his message, and I think what he is saying applies to the vast majority of guys out there. The vast majority. A greater percentage than people would want. Maybe 70, 80%. No, over 90% of the guys that are in football don't need to be going somewhere else to chase dollars.
No.
But I understand why these guys want to earn the money. I totally get it. All right, what do we got, number 4?
All right, this has all got to do with namings rights. The IOC, International Olympic Committee, has said that venues in the Olympics can now sell their namings rights. The Olympics, for those that you do not know, have been very limited in sponsorship over the years. They've always got their 2 or 3 main sponsors like Coca-Cola and Visa, and that's it. That's the only ads you will see. Now, obviously, if they're playing at the Crypto Center, a basketball game, it'll say that.
Right.
But other than that,
right.
The beach volleyball place that's temporary cannot sell its naming rights, and now they can. So this could bring in more money to the Olympics. For those of you who don't know, the most profitable Olympics ever is the last one that was done in Los Angeles, and now they'll be in Los Angeles again in 2028.
Yeah, no coincidence with L.A. right around the corner. Speaking from the Olympic timetable, right around the corner. That is why that's why they've done this. Obviously, they feel like they'll be able to sell names. All right, what else you got? Number 5.
Okay, this one going back to college sports. James Madison's School of Professional and Continuing Education has signed a 4-year deal to be the Duke's first on-field sponsor. And this is the first sponsorship in all of college football in which an in-house part of the university is going to pay the athletic department for sponsorship rights on the field.
I don't know about that. Look, Team Boneyard's done, and I don't think I'm going to be telling tales outside of school. But, to me, you always sort of feel like we're all on the same page. But I know Team Boneyard had to pay for the space they were allotted advertising. And I think there were some concessions made in that kind of thing. And, there are deals made with all kinds of, you talked about naming rights and this sort of thing. You would think the university would want to be able to do that without having to pay, a premium or maybe there are other ads for other sponsors, and that happens to be on there as well. I wonder, is that also maybe a way to get somebody who wants to play, I don't know.
I wonder if
I wonder who's paying for this in reality. I guess that's what I'm getting at.
So,
somebody's paying this bill.
Yeah. So what I'm getting at here now, obviously it's a private school, because public school, this would not be happening at all. But is this a way that there is still something written in their bylaws that only X amount of money paid from students' tuition or whatever can go to athletics, and this is their way of moving academia money to athletics and bypassing somebody's going to be ticked off, though. I can tell you about this right now. There's going to be some academia people, and I understand why. I'm not trying to ticked off. And I think could you argue the fourth president of the United States is rolling over in his grave right now? Education was found, or these universities were founded on education,
Right.
and now it's all about sports, and academic money is being funded into football.
Are they private? Do you know that for sure?
I
thought
think
they were
they are.
public.
I could be,
think
man.
they're
If they're
public.
public, this could be really crazy.
And that might be why they're doing it like this if they're public. Check that out. See if James May. I thought JMU was public. That was kind of the thing that all of the institutions in the old colonial, some of them had in common. It may be private. You may be right.
Oh
don't
no,
know.
you're right. It's public, so that is the way
Yeah.
they're getting around it. Because if they probably what it is in the Virginia, they've all got a constitution. The states do, and how much money? I think ours is like $750 of the students' fees and tuition can go to.
This is a way to get
athletics. It's a way to get
academic
around
money into athletics. Yeah.
Somebody's gonna sue.
I don't know if somebody's going to sue, but I would imagine there'd be a little bit of a protest.
Yeah, I think so.
I'll tell you who doesn't need to worry about money. That is Tom Dondon. $4 million for the Portland Trail Blazers. We welcome our dear friend Brian LeBlanc when we return to talk about that. So stay with us here on the Patrick Johnson Show.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers in Greenville, plus the all-new Tiebreakers in Winterville. Do real burgers better than anybody. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, real burgers at its best.
Everybody loves burgers.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Allen, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout Eastern North Carolina. Get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
We're back to the show.
I missed you. We all missed you. Did you miss him?
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
We are back in your Carolina Hurricanes and their owner, Tom Dondon, purchasing the Portland Trail Blazers, $4 billion. Who do we turn to when it comes to these matters? Who else but Canes Country, Brian LeBlanc? It's just really an excuse to talk to LeBlanc here in the middle of the summer. LeBlanc, how are you?
Doing great. Fantastic. If I had $4 billion burning a hole in my pocket, this may not be what I would do, but more power to him.
If I had
man,
400
what would you
grand,
do if you had $4 billion burning a hole in your pocket outside of giving a cool billion to Philip Pilkington?
Yeah. I think, well, I was going to say, if I had 400 grand, you'd never hear from me again.
No.
But, there's a good chance I'd be, I'd probably be philanthropic, and I probably would try to buy a sports team, I guess, something like that. I mean, I get the deal. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But Dondon's ownership, unless it has grown, I mean, he's a majority owner in the Canes, but it's not
right.
He doesn't flat out own it. 100%.
No, I believe he does now.
Okay.
Completely own it. When he bought the team, Peter Karmanos was a minority owner.
Right.
And Dondon bought the majority stake in it. And I believe, although I could be wrong on this, I think that after a couple of years, Dondon bought out what was remaining of Peter Karmanos's ownership interest.
Okay.
So I believe that he is the full owner of the team now. From what I've read, he's going into this deal for the Blazers with a couple of other minority owners. So he's not the full he's not the full owner, but he's going to be the majority owner, and he's going to be the governor of the team. So he, much like he was when he came to Raleigh, he will be the head decision maker. And so kind of a similar situation. I mean, not quite the same. Obviously, he's buying the Blazers from an estate rather than from an actual person. So it's a little bit different situation. The arena, again, kind of similar to the situation in Raleigh. The arena in Portland is owned by the city, not by the organization. So we'll have to navigate politics there as well, similar to what he has to do here. He doesn't have the situation like he does in Raleigh with NC State to deal with, because the Blazers are I don't think they're the sole tenant of the arena, but there's not, NC State has a pretty significant amount of influence in what happens at Lenovo Center. And I don't believe that's the case at the arena in Portland. So a little bit different, but in large part, I mean, it's very similar. It's a situation where the estate of Paul Allen was looking to sell the team. They needed to sell the team. It was in his will to sell the team when he passed away in 2018. And so, Dondon kind of, I wouldn't say scooped it up on the cheap, but was, looking for a deal. They were looking to sell, and he put a team together to make a deal. And based on the latest valuation, seems like a pretty fair deal. I think it was valued at about $3.6 billion. The reported selling price is $4 billion, so pretty much in line with what you'd expect.
What is Dondon's aspiration with purchasing the team? I mean, because I don't want to say this was out of left field, but certainly there had, at least to my knowledge, had not been murmurs of this being a possibility.
Yeah, I hadn't heard much about this either, but I mean, he's from Dallas. He runs in those circles. He's been palling around with Mark Cuban for a while. So obviously, maybe this wasn't something that he was necessarily right at the front of the line for, but you had to imagine that just, being in high roller circles in Dallas, someone somewhere was probably whispering in his ear at some point. There's been talk about him being interested in bringing Major League Baseball to North Carolina. There was a statement from Mike Sondheim yesterday. The Hurricanes. God,
Hurricanes.
Sound like
Where are you from? Pamlico County?
Carteret County, right? God knows. Hurricanes. VP of Communications yesterday saying that he's still exploring the possibility of an MLB team in North Carolina. He pointedly did not say Raleigh when he said that, which take that for what it's worth. I personally don't think that I feel like either Raleigh or Charlotte is pretty far down the line at this point for an MLB expansion team or relocation. And I, just reading between the lines here, I kind of feel like Dondon may have seen the writing on the wall there.
Okay.
If the Tampa Bay Rays seem like the most likely candidate to move, they apparently have a sale lined up in principle with someone that at some point, I guess, is going to keep them in Florida somewhere, whether they stay in Tampa. There's a ownership interest in Orlando that, is kind of kicking the tires on putting a stadium deal together. But MLB doesn't want to leave Florida is the bottom line. What ends up happening with the Twins is anyone's guess. That news came out yesterday. But the bottom line is it's possible that Dondon kind of maybe had someone whisper in his ear from baseball that probably wasn't something that was going to happen short term, and he wanted to get into something else, and this opportunity was there, and he decided to jump on it. And I think it made, that might just be the simplest answer, and probably is the most reasonable answer, is to, again, you've got $4 billion burning a hole in your pocket and you want to do something with it, and the opportunity presents itself, you jump on it, and that is probably the most likely answer to what happened here.
Canes Country's Brian LeBlanc joining us here. Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Look at that. Pilkington he got it.
Never fails to amaze, that Philip Pilkington.
Never count out Philip Pilkington.
Better late than never, boys. Better late than never.
That's what I say. All right.
T-Man's made a career out of better late than never.
I have. I was going to ask you about what this meant for MLB's prospects in Raleigh, but you answered that, which makes you a tremendous guest. So I'll move to this right now. What kind of owner is Dondon?
He's changed a little bit over the time that he's been in Raleigh. I think when he came in, he was a very hands-on owner, and I think he almost was taken aback by how much the team had atrophied over the later ownership years of Peter Karmanos, and just how much growth potential there was for the team. The playoff run in 2019 really crystallized, I think, for him just how much kind of potential there was in growth for the team. And obviously the pandemic kind of put a damper on that for a couple of years, but ever since then, it's really kind of taken off. And since then, it seems like, he's still involved in the big decisions. You're not going to get any signings. You're not going to get any trades without not just him being involved, but him being, pretty significantly involved, having a seat at the table and, being involved in the roundtable discussions of what contract are we going to offer? Who are we offering up in trades? That sort of thing. He's more involved than your average owner in those regards. But in a lot of ways, I think he's kind of made the impression of this is how we expect to do things around here. And now he's kind of taken maybe a step back a little bit. And, the expectation is set. And he's set the expectation for how he wants the team to run. And for the most part, the people that are still around, and there are a good number of them that have hung around for a while, understand that that's how things are going to operate, and they've kind of taken that and run with it. So I think it's a little bit different now than it was when he first bought the team, in that he may not be necessarily quite as involved in the minutia as he was when he first came around. But don't let that fool you. He's still very involved in the data, in the medium term, I would say, and the big decisions. Maybe not quite so much involved in what color coffee mugs are we putting in the break room, but he's still much more hands-on than your average owner. He's not just a guy that sits back and, just kind of writes the checks in the background. I don't know what he's going to see when he gets to Portland. Frankly, I'm not, up on the NBA the way that I am on the NHL. But I think that what they can expect is probably similar to what the Hurricanes saw when he first got here. He'll take a top to bottom look at the organization. He'll see what kinds of things they have that are going well. He'll see where they have room for improvement, and where they have room for improvement, he will dive in, and he'll roll his sleeves up and say, I'm not just going to tell you what needs to happen. I'm going to show you, exactly what I expect. And, if you're on board, great. And if not, I'll find somebody that will be.
There are a lot of similarities. I mean, obviously, you're kind of talking a mid-market, maybe lower market kind of team. There's great history in Portland. There was a Stanley Cup in Raleigh that had already been won. Portland, of course, more than a generation, heck, 2 generations ago now, probably won an NBA title. So I think he knows how to navigate the waters. Anything we need to know about on the Canes, schedule as far as the calendar between now and whatever? And has there been any big developments since we last spoke to you in June?
As far as I know, not really. It's just this is the quiet time of the NHL offseason, and I don't think there's really been a whole lot since we last spoke. The Hurricanes have kind of done their business in the background. They didn't lose a lot in free agency. They have they made the trade for Keandre Miller, who's going to settle in on the blue line. Is going to be a pretty significant addition. I think they're really looking at him, and we kind of talked about him a couple months ago as a real cornerstone piece. I think for the medium term future of the Hurricanes, but they're kind of just expecting to take the next step. I mean, Seth Jarvis is locked up now. They did get Jackson Blake signed to a long-term deal. One thing that has happened since last we talked is that the NHL and the Players Association have signed a new collective bargaining agreement that takes effect at the end of this coming season, so the summer of 2026. And so one of the big pieces of that CBA is that 8-year deals are no longer going to be allowed. They're cutting back the maximum length of deals to 7 years if you're signing with your own team and 6 years if you're signing with another team. So there's kind of been a land rush here in this offseason for teams to lock up their players on 8-year deals before those deals go away. And you saw that with the Hurricanes. They signed Jackson Blake to an 8-year deal specifically because they wouldn't be able to do that after next year, and they want to spread out that cap hit over 8 years. Understandably so, because he was really impressive his rookie year. This deal won't take effect until next offseason. He still has 1 year to go on his rookie level deal. But they wanted to get that 8th year in there and get him locked in, probably at a little bit more than they wanted to pay up front. But if he continues on this growth curve that he's on right now, very similar to Seth Jarvis, he could wind up being a pretty solid bargain by year 5 or 6 of this deal. So understandably, they wanted to get him signed. They did get him signed, and they're going to have him as a big piece of their contributing core for 8 years on top of the year that he's got left on his rookie deal. So really 9 more years of Jackson Blake. And if for some reason things go sideways, it's not a bad deal. The cap's going to be going way up. We're looking at a cap that's going to be pushing $100 million here in a few years. That's going to be a tradable contract. So if they need to get out from it, they'll be able to. Revenues are up. Gary Bettman and Marty Walsh, the director of the Players Association, said that this was a relatively easy CBA to negotiate. But a lot of that is because revenues are up so much. So things generally are pretty good in the NHL world. It's been a while since we could say that. So I think that things in general for the Hurricanes are trending up, and we're about a month away from preseason games starting. Training camp's getting underway here in a couple weeks. So the quiet period's about to end, but for the time being, things are just kind of bubbling under the surface for now.
I'll be on the bandwagon. All right, the great Brian LeBlanc from CanesCountry.com.
Always expect you to be on the bandwagon, P-Man.
You know I will be. All right, LeBlanc, have a great rest of your summer, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Talk to you then. Good talking to you as always.
Absolutely. The great Brian LeBlanc with us here on the Patrick Johnson Show. All right. When we come back, we'll talk a little college football. And we've also got an event coming to Raleigh for a second year. It is the Sports Podcast Festival. And we'll tell you about that. And our next guest will be one of the folks that is there at that event, Alex Kirshner, from the Split Zone Duo podcast when we come back talking ball.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
At Parker's Barbecue, our family has been serving your family for 3 generations.
For that, we say thank you.
Blessing families every Thursday. Kids eat free all day. That's the Parker's way.
Legendary food served from our 3 locations. Always quick, always delicious. That's the Parker's way.
At Parker's, our mission is to impact our customers through Christ-like service in a way that feeds them both physically and spiritually. That is the Parker's way.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
Beep, beep. Move over, Buttercup. We're back to the show.
They're back. And I love them.
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
All right, college football season around the corner. Also around the corner is the upcoming Sports Podcast Festival, the 2025 edition. Our great friend Dimitri Ravanos, also the OG podcast featured in that. We'll also have the Big Screen Sports podcast, but also the Split Zone Duo. And the host of that is Alex Kirshner. He joins us here on the Patrick Johnson Show to talk college football and talk about the upcoming event at the Rialto in the 5 Points area of Raleigh. My great friend, the Hayes Permar, the owner of the Rialto now. All right, Alex, welcome back to the program. We just missed you in the state, apparently. So next time we need to get you down east. Next time you're in North Carolina.
Yeah, I'm becoming a real North Carolina frequent flyer. Was just in Western North Carolina, Boone, Banner Elk area, one of my favorite places for the last couple weeks. And very excited to be back in Raleigh on August 23rd for the Sports Podcast Festival.
So we'll go through the schedule of that day, but for folks that are maybe curious to find out, Split Zone Duo, that podcast, obviously downloadable and accessible anywhere that there are podcasts, wherever you download your podcast or listen to them. But tell us a little bit about the podcast, some of the things you guys talk about.
Yeah, we're a national college football podcast, and what we pride ourselves on is eating the whole hog of the sport, not just focusing on the biggest teams, the Blue Bloods, the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States, or whatever, but talking a lot and really giving equal time to schools like East Carolina, to schools in the American and the Sun Belt, Conference USA, Mountain West, the MAC. We do a bit of FCS as well. We try to be a college football podcast that appreciates the entirety of the sport. And, that's sort of been where I think we've drawn our strength since we got started in 2020.
You say that, and obviously I have the sensibilities of East Carolina as an alum, as someone who's covered the team for decades now, but then also in some of the national work I'll do, you obviously are covering other conferences, other teams, big teams, G5 teams, that sort of thing. In fact, I was getting some assignment stuff for the upcoming weeks of the season just the other day. So you got to kind of keep an eye a little bit on everything. And, with that said, I always do look at a lot of these things, especially when the ACC is complaining about something, through more of the plight and the prism of East Carolina. Again, it's just kind of the way I look about these things. So I'm real interested when you say, the entirety of the sport. I guess you can't argue that the sport is relatively healthy, maybe as healthy as it's ever been in a lot of areas. But there are a lot of areas where there's some cause for concern. Now, maybe it won't be as bad as we think. I'm actually surprised you have as many institutions as you are still, going at it with the rev share at the level they are. But how long is kind of what we're looking at right now in your mind, Alex, sustainable?
I think it's sustainable, but not necessarily good. I suspect that we're only going to continue to see roughly 50 or 60 college football programs just have a really good financial situation where they can compete at least nominally for the 12-team playoff, which I'm sure soon enough is going to be a 14-team or a 16 playoff, and where they can pay their players and they're not going to run out of money and things are going to go generally fine for them. And of course, of those 50 or 60, there's maybe 15 or 20 who could plausibly win national championships in this game. I'm less sure about the long-term financial durability and competitive durability of everybody else. But the thing that I try to focus on is that you don't have to be college football playoff obsessed, and you don't have to care that much about the balance sheet, the profit and loss statement of your athletic department, unless you're an athletic director or a head coach. This is somewhat different for me. I'm from Pittsburgh. I grew up a Pitt fan. I went to college at the University of Maryland. Pitt and Maryland are the power conferences, right? Maryland's in the Big Ten, which is a Big Two, and Pitt's in the ACC, which is, somewhat powerful still. And I understand that Pitt and Maryland are just going to be financially outgunned by the best teams in their leagues for as long as they're in those leagues. And who knows if there's ever a split where, schools like that get left behind. But I wasn't getting a tuition rebate when Maryland moved to the Big Ten. I wasn't getting money off tickets when Pitt moved to the ACC. So I just try to enjoy the game, to focus on what I like about college football, and to dream about when you can have a really good season. And Pitt won the Atlantic Coast a couple years ago, beat Wake Forest and Charlotte, and I had plenty of fun with that, even though Pitt was not really in the playoff run that year.
Yeah. Well, our guy Mark Miller, who's one of our colleagues here, went to Pitt. He's a Philly guy and went to Pitt, we're totally, whether we like it or not, we know what's going on with Pitt. The Maryland thing's interesting because obviously for years they were in the ACC, and so there's a little bit of intimacy with them, and there's a lot of people that still think they ought to be in the ACC. Of course, we understand the reasoning why Maryland did what they did. So with all that said, I'm just kind of listening to what you're saying, and I want to pick up on a couple of points here. I mean, I'm still of the opinion this thing goes, who knows how far out it's going to happen. Who knows if we'll all be here tomorrow. But, I think you look at where all this is headed, and just because right now you're in one of the P4s doesn't mean you are going to be able to maintain the commitment you need to maintain realistically to be in the P4, and that even has varying degrees. Because as we have here in North Carolina, and as you somewhat familiar with North Carolina know, I mean, NC State's living in a delusion if they think they're going to be able to spend it at an SEC level. North Carolina might, and it's proving they're going to try to, but I can't even see NC State at that level. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to. Are they going to outspend East Carolina or Appalachian State? Sure, they should. But, I think within these leagues, you're going to see a divide.
Well, I think we're already sort of starting to see it. I mean, I don't think any of your listeners who are tuned into us right now really expect that in 10 years, the ACC is going to have the same composition that it has now. I mean, Florida State and Clemson have made it really clear, as well as North Carolina, Miami, a couple of others, that it's not acceptable for them to do business the way that schools have traditionally done business in these conferences, which is, the top earner in the league and the bottom earner in the league in terms of like television marketability or what have you are sharing revenue equally. They're making the same amount of money. Historically, when conferences have started to fight about this, and where teams at the top end of the league have said, hey, we need more money, we need a different way of sharing revenue, that has been a precursor to those leagues falling apart, at least to some extent. Boise State had a situation like this with the Mountain West a couple years ago. Boise State is
right.
gone. Florida State and Clemson just had a very similar situation with the ACC and have been pretty clear, especially in Florida State's case, that they're looking for a way out as soon as they can. And I don't think that changes just because for the time being there's been a slight modulation to the way that a slight adjustment to the way the ACC shares revenue. Texas, Oklahoma with the Big 12 for years asked for and received certain kinds of special treatment from that league. They're still playing in the SEC now. So ultimately, I think it's very hard to kind of put that toothpaste back in the tube. And I don't think it's possible that forever, Ohio State is just going to accept that it gets the same amount of money out of the Big Ten that Northwestern does. It just seems impractical to me that could happen. And so I do think we're heading for a bit of a bust up, and we've already sort of started to see the fissures in the ACC, but we've also seen them in, to varying degrees in a bunch of conferences. And I do think that's just the way of the world now. And it's a shame that we have to pay attention to that as fans, as media, as any kind of stakeholder in college sports.
Sure. Alex Kirshner, Split Zone Duo, the podcast, here with us. He'll be at the second annual Sports Podcast Festival, which is coming up a week from Saturday in Raleigh at the Rialto in the 5 Points area, the Midtown area of Raleigh. And you can head to the website, therialto.com to get your tickets to that event now. All right. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but I'm interested too in getting your take on this, because again, this is an area that you have a lot of knowledge in. SMU bought their way into the ACC. That seemed to have paid some football dividends. Their preseason top 20, what have you. Memphis tried to buy their way into the Big 12, if you believe the reports, and the Big 12 said, no, we're good. So what about Memphis made them unappealing in your mind to the Big 12? Is it more of a Big 12 thing, or was it a Memphis thing?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that there is an interesting dynamic that plays out in these situations where schools are very public about how they want to jump to a new conference, where it's kind of like dating in high school a little bit, honestly. I think you have to play sometimes a little bit of hard to get in order to be wanted. We've seen a couple schools recently be kind of out on Front Street about how much they want the promotion. And, some of the reporting that I've read has been sort of suggestive of this idea that if you want it too badly, it kind of repels certain university presidents, conference administrators, et cetera, who hold the keys to whether or not you get that invitation. Sacramento State, FCS program in Northern California, has had this problem trying to make a move to the new Pac-12. You've certainly, I think, seen a version of that with Memphis where, maybe some Big 12 presidents just think that it's a little bit uncouth the way that the Tigers have been so aggressive about trying to get into the league. But also, it's just there are mathematical calculations being done here too. And to split the pie by a certain amount, obviously you've got to grow it by a certain amount. And though Memphis wasn't going to take much or any money for the first handful of years, college administrators tend to be a pretty risk-averse set in general. And, that cuts against making a move like that. But it's clear how much Memphis wants it very, very badly.
Yeah, and they would seemingly be maybe next on the proverbial list to get out of the American. We'll see, though. I think a lot of this maybe is for until we sort of know where we are as far as the next round of television contracts and that kind of. It seems like the end of the decade is sort of the telltale on a lot of this stuff, or within a handful of year period near the end of the decade, beginning of the following decade. We've got Alex Kirshner with a Split Zone Duo. Okay, Pirates this year. How do you see, from your perspective, East Carolina's season unfolding? What did you like about what Blake Harrell did last year when they moved on from Mike Houston and eventually elevated him as the permanent head coach?
Yeah, and I'll tell you just also while we're talking, I do think I have to jump to a different call in about 2 minutes. I just want to make sure I don't accidentally lose you mid-call. But I'll tell you, it's refreshing. I'm from Pittsburgh, so it's refreshing to talk about a different Pirates team that is actually less depressing than the Pirates team that I watch roughly 140 nights a year. I liked what ECU did, honestly, after firing Mike Houston last year. I think the program, you can kind of see this sometimes when a coach gets fired midseason. I hate to use the Q word, but sometimes it looks like players quit a bit as the year goes on. That definitely didn't happen with Blake Harrell. It seemed like there was kind of a renewed vigor, renewed juice about them. I believe they finished 5-1 after he took over. And, I'm sure that there would have been administrators, boosters at ECU who would have liked to get Garrett Riley, would have liked to have looked into, the Joe Sloans of the world, guys with ECU connections and good resumes. But I do think that, ECU seems to have a little bit more vigor about it right now, a little bit more excitement than I can tell from a national perspective, really any time since the disastrous Ruffin McNeil firing of about a year ago.
All right, Alex Kirshner, it is the Split Zone Duo, and it'll be part of the second annual sports podcast festival. It's going to be at the Rialto in Midtown Raleigh on Glenwood Avenue there. 7 o'clock, Saturday the 23rd. And you can go to the Rialto's webpage to order your tickets now. Ovius and Giglio will have their show, the big screen sports, Scar Brothers involved. And, of course, Alex will be there as well. Hey, Alex, great to talk to you. I hope we can get a chance to catch up with you again soon.
Great talking. Look forward to it. Hope to see everyone in Raleigh on the 23rd. Appreciate it.
Yep, we'll be back right after this.
Cash in your trade-in at Greenville Toyota. Get a huge offer when you trade. Then save big on a brand new Corolla, just $229 a month. Or get a Tacoma, just $319 a month. Secure your Toyota now at Greenville Toyota.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's cut in color. And let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, Newbern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, Newbern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked to order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Turn your car into cash at Greenville Toyota. Cash in your trade-in today. Then get new Camry just $249 a month. Or drive a new RAV4, $319 a month. At Greenville Toyota, where our volume saves you money.
The stunning conclusion.
Why is everyone screaming?
On 94.3 The Game.
Well, if you're frustrated with trendy weight loss shots, maybe you've hit a plateau, can't handle the side effects, you want maybe some of these pounds, or you've seen some of these pounds creep back on, there's a better way to really get healthy and change your life. East Carolina weight loss. I'm back on that. People lose up to 10 to 20% of their body weight in just 8 weeks without expensive injections or the uncomfortable side effects. I dropped 60 pounds last year. I've gotten back on it, down 8 pounds it was yesterday since I've got back on East Carolina weight loss. I've hit it hard this week. I've had a huge week as far as all that goes. I may actually be down a little more, closer to 10. Personal difference for me is I don't have all the inflammation in my hands and in my knees and all that, so I feel really a lot better. And I'm able to exercise. You don't have to exercise, but you'll feel good, so you want to get out and move around. No prepackaged meals, bars, or shakes. No drugs, no surgery with the risk of side effects. The program resets your metabolism, and you keep the weight off for good. 252-496-3610. 252-496-3610. Tell them the great P-Man sent you, or EastCarolinaWeightLoss.com. 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 Thanks to Brian LeBlanc for being with us today. Alex Kirshner also for appearing on the show. Tomorrow, I go. How about that, Pilk? The heavy.
Oh, my goodness. I got to deal with a double dose of Igo. Dang, I might not show up tomorrow.
Star of the Station is on tomorrow. Stephen Igo, the star. As Igo will be on with us from Hoist the Colors and Hoist the Colors Radio. So we'll see you then. Catch you in the morning for Open Line Friday on Talk of the Town. Should be a hot one. Lines will be popping. And tomorrow here for the PJ Show with a fresh edition. All right. Have a great rest of your evening, everybody.